Hey everybody. This morning I'm taking a look at my dashboard instrument panel on the Camaro. My original plan was to work on the used parts that I purchased that I have in the basement, and I've been working on two instrument panels, but they're not done. Things got, time gets away sometimes, and so now I have the carpet out. I figured I would wait and do instrument panels later. Just finish the carpet job. But as long as I have everything out, I'm going to take a look at the existing instrument panel and see if there's anything I can do with it before I put the carpet back in. I'm not sure if I'm going to pull it out or if I can close up the crack. We'll just take a look at it and see. It could be a project for another day, but here goes. My challenge here is that there's a pretty good crack in the panel there where the heater, where the console plugs in and the heater controls and everything, and you can see there's a pretty good crack in there. And I have a second one up here at the air conditioning. That one's not quite so bad, or not quite so hard to fix, but I really don't understand why that one, I've tried to figure out if I could close it up. I'm not quite sure why it's got so much stress on it. I know they pried on it when they broke the radio out. I'm going to tinker around here a little bit and see if I can, I'm going to take the top pad off and see if I can understand why why that won't close up. I've gone through and I've loosened all the bolts, all the fasteners, top and bottom, pulled off the sound absorbers underneath so that I could reach all the fasteners for the instrument panel and all the fasteners for the braces, including the speakers. I mean, every fastener that holds things together is loose. I've blamed this crack on people prying on it when the radio was broken, and I still think that may be true. But I have a second one, used part that's got a similar crack, and it seems like they all like to crack up here. So I wonder a little bit if there wasn't some stress put on these parts by the way the factory bolted them in, either by dimensional, the body dimensions, or by the process that the assembly plant used to torque things up. Or does the plastic just shrink or move over time? In any case, now that everything is loose, I'm seeing some ways that I can push on it and start to close up cracks. So what I think I'm going to do is tinker with this a little bit, make some adjustments and try to torque some fasteners, and then see if I can get some adhesives in there to make the cracks better. Well, this is going to be a little bit of an experiment, but let's see how it plays out. I have two spots. One is this crack down here that I would really like to pull together better. And the other one is this one up here. And it seems I haven't quite got that one figured out yet. Well, it's similar. It seems like if you could pull it in from the side a little bit. I had tried tightening this one up, but I'm not sure that helps yet. So let's make sure these are loose. Okay. Nothing good there. See, that seems to really shrink that down. And that comes from, that's pretty good. That's got that crack pretty well down. So that wants it to be up. And this one wants it to be back and in. So once again, I'm going to snug down these bolts underneath here. Right there. And then let's lift this one and tighten it. Really pulled it back quite a ways, actually. Not done yet, but both of my cracks are better. Now what happens if I... I'm not quite so happy about that. It looks like I lost a little bit. Loosen that up. I go that way with it. I kind of pulled it back apart again. I wonder if I need a little bit of a shim behind this one. Because I'm almost... That's a pretty big flat surface. I wonder what I've got that would fit in there. And what's it need? That really seems to be helping it, though. That's helping that one. I still have to get this one. That helps too. Kind of a combination. Alright. What I'm pointing at is there's a nut here, and one of the major supports comes up here to the sheet metal on the front. And I guess there's two things. I could either put a shim in it or I could actually bend it. I think I'd rather not bend it. The nut off though, get a look. I mean, these are all slotted so that they can move. But it seems that a little bit of movement there, like an eighth of an inch or something there. But all the other tighten this bracket back in. Let's make sure that I don't end up here in the spot where if I pull that forward just a little, that helps the... Alright, well, I'm going to stop and see if I can find something for that. Well, I've gone back in the shop and got a couple of washers that are they're 3/8 inch, just mild steel, zinc plated, and I just slotted them with a hacksaw. I also had some 5/16 stainless steel, but I thought maybe these would be easier to cut. So anyhow, my intention is to slip these in, and from looking at my other used parts, these plastic pads where it bolts up to the body actually have little flats top and bottom where they want to contact rather than side to side. So I think I want to put these washers in and turn them 90 degrees in order to pick that up. So let me drop number 1 in here. I don't know whether I need 1 or 2. I just went ahead and did 2 at the same time. And of course, what I need is something to actually turn it, something thin. And I'll pull out my pocket knife here. There we go. And I thought I was going to need 2 of these, but maybe not. This is I'm getting pretty close here. I'm getting pretty close. So let's not overdo it. Did I get my slot in the right place is the question. At the moment, the crack over here is greatly minimized. It's not completely closed, but it's not bad. And I still haven't tried to pull anything off from the other side. Well, things are looking better all the way around. I can see my washers contacting where I want it to contact. Let's snug that down and see how that looks. Long ago, 4th gen Camaros, I used to work on these cars, and I had some team members that worked on the clutch system, and I can tell you is that there are many challenges in an assembly plant. If you've ever stamped steel, worked around stamping dies, steel, when you bend it, it has a tendency to spring back. It doesn't always stay where you put it. And when you have assemblies and weldments and combinations of all these stampings to do a body like this, it's really technically difficult sometimes to get everything lined up and hold tolerances. So here they molded this piece of plastic and they want to tie it to the body, and this connection and that connection and the ones underneath, and they've all got to be in really, really tight tolerances. And yet that's a tough thing to do. And so we used to struggle with the plant to get the clutch pedals in the right place and in perfect tolerance. And we worked it out and we got it there, but it just highlighted to me the amount of challenge that is required to make some of those things work. See, right now when I do that, I'm flexing the entire beam, and just for fun, I'm going to back these off for a minute and see what happens to I tightened this bracket up special. Let's let the bracket drop down and see where we end up. Yeah, see, she opens up again. Alright. So this is a combination of what it takes to get the stress off of it. So put that bracket back up at the top. Tighten both those screws down. Okay, so I still have a little crack. Well, I still need to go over to the other side. And this one has gotten much smaller. So, the other thing I'm going to do, where's that? Because there's a 10mm underneath the dash. Down over here. And I think it was a 10mm. Let's snug that one down. Let's see if we'll push that in. Well, it sprung back a little, but that's a whole lot better. I've still got a little crack here. Let's push that guy in. I'm going to tighten this one where it goes to the steel. Let's see if that helps any. Yeah, better. Not perfect, but man, a whole lot better than it was. Because one of the next ones that we'll catch here is this is where the console bolts in. Well, there's also one here where you go up to the heater core or heater box. All right, well, I've got that pretty well closed up. Almost enough. Almost enough to put a little bit of adhesive in there. So I'm going to try to glue up this crack around the air conditioning outlet. And what I've got on there is a vice grip, kind of gently clamping, holding it closed, padded. A piece of electrical tape over the front. And then my intention is to use my Loctite 406, which is the wicking grade. Some of you have seen this before. It's a wicking grade that's supposed to soak in. If you get it on the surface, it should draw it in. And it's designed for plastic. It's very specifically a plastic and rubber adhesive. It'll stick other things too. If you could, I mean, it'll stick your fingers and all the things that cyanoacrylate glues normally do. So I'm going to just lay a little bit down the back side and we'll see how this works. Just kind of put a little less neat this way, but we'll roll it down the back side and may end up with a little puddle down inside, but that shouldn't hurt anything. And we'll let that just sit for a few minutes. The beauty of this stuff is it doesn't take long. When it gets in the crack, it'll set up pretty fast. Well, that's set for a few minutes. Let's probably about 15. Let me see what we got here. Let's see if it held. Doesn't always, so sometimes you have to do it twice, but let's peel the looks pretty good. Looks really good, actually. Hardly see the crack. There's a little edge there that's... But I think that was there in the beginning. But now what you got is just a hairline groove. And it seems pretty solid, so pretty hard to get better than that. Good. The only other thing I still might do is I have some urethane that I could go in behind and apply a little bit to get an extra layer of strength back in there. But okay, that's number one. Now number two, this one I've been working with to, but there's a crack here, and then it continues down inside and underneath where the console goes. Now most of that's not visible, but I still want to try to be neat. So what I've done is, it's very hard to see, but I've taken more electrical tape and I've cut it up and I've laid it in here very carefully and masked off both sides of the crack. So my intention is, I can get myself in the right position here. My intention is to, I'm not going to work on this part because it's just, it would be visible. My goal is going to be just to glue this one and push on it and try to get it to set. And so then all I'll end up with is a hairline crack. And knowing that this glue is liquid, I just don't want it running all over the car or all over the dash. So in order to contain the mess, I'll call it, what I want to do is, there's a crack here in this corner, and then there's a second one that comes up about through here. So my goal is to hit both of those and push them together and see if we can get it to hold, and then clean up the mess. And hopefully, I've pushed this down good, is hopefully I don't get any bleed under the tape. we'll see how this goes. Actually, before I do, gloves, because I don't want to stick my fingers. Alright, here we go. So we run a little bead in there, and then we push it together. Come on, push it together. We'll hold it for a few seconds. Keep holding it just a little longer. Now I'm going to put just a little more in this upper crack. It's a second time. Try to wipe up some of the excess while I'm holding it. It's not bad, but it could be better. But it's not bad. Just trying to make sure that the whole thing gets a good bond here. Alright. It really didn't hold as tight as I wanted. No, that section didn't grab. I'll try this a third time. One more time, let's see what we do. Well, I'm still working on this crack. The super glue hadn't been working, but one of the things that you need with cyanoacrylates is they're anaerobic, which means you have to exclude air, so you need a tight bond line. So what you'll see here is it's actually a boat hook, which is one of those telescoping. You can telescope it and twist it and lock it. So it's like a brace. It's holding the crack together right now. And I went back and did it a fourth time. We'll see if that helps. But then I've decided it's time. It's going to be a little tricky to do it by hand. I'll have to use some chemical gloves, probably better than these. But I'm going to mix up a little bit of urethane, and I'm going to put one of these mesh braces underneath there that's self-adhesive. And let's see how much. I should have bent it first, but what I want it to do is something like this. See if I can put it in there with some adhesive. There we go. Stick that there. And that makes the corner. All right, good. The intention is to go right around this bend on the back side and put a dose of urethane on it. Well, see if it'll go down to the next one. It feels like it does. Okay. Well, that was my intent, was to get two of them in there. You just can't bend around this bend, so I needed one here, and I need one here, both of which that do a 90. All right. This would be a whole lot easier if I had the dash out, but getting the dash out's an even bigger project. So for someday I may need to do that, but for now I've got enough things going on that I'd like to make this at least a nice temporary fix, and we can go from there. All right. So now what I'll need to do is get the glove, get my respirator, and mix up a batch, and then again put some here. And as long as I'm working on the HVAC, I probably should put a little dose in behind. Okay, well, I mixed up a batch, and I guess I'm going to start up here at the top and just put a little bead of it on the inside. Trying to not be too messy because you don't want to hit the pivot down there where the air conditioning vent moves. So I just laid a little bit on the back. All right, now the only way I can see to do this is by hand, so I'm going to take a fingerful of this stuff and work it in the back here, right there. down to the bottom one. Do the same thing. I used all of it. I'm not sure I got enough in there, though, so. I'm going to let it set up. And I may come back and put in a second coat. See how it looks. See how it feels. It says it needs 15 minutes, so. You know, that's the crack. The crack is down to pretty much a hairline. And as I bolt things up, we'll make that better. I was able to get that one closed down. Well, I've made a decision on the dashboard. As you've seen, I was repairing cracks and getting some things realigned. I really wanted to go down a path where I went ahead and pulled the instrument panel all the way out and got behind it and repaired that crack. But at this stage of the project, it's a lot of work because you need to drop the steering column and pull out the cluster, and there's a lot more work to do. Pull out wiring harnesses, you name it. And so, given the depth that I'm in here, my goal is to get the carpet replaced. I thought it might be easy, or easier, to pull out the instrument panel while I've got the console out and so forth. But at this stage, I got the crack down to a pretty small amount, and I did get the front side repaired, so it really doesn't look too bad. So I'm going to proceed with finishing up the carpeting project, getting the carpet and everything back together, and someday further on, I'll come back and do the instrument panel. But I'm really, it's one of those things where you have to scope the job, and the scope right now is to get the carpet in, get it to fit, get the panels all put back, and then again, when I have some time, you know, I'll come back probably and work on that, or I'll put in, you know, swap in one of my other instrument panels that I'm working on, and I'll go from there. Sometimes you need to keep the project under control, and if I keep taking things apart, I'll never get it back together. And right now I have a lot of parts to deal with, so that's my plan.